the Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. The very best way to promote your podcasts. Podpage makes it easy to create a podcast website with just a few clicks. Every page is optimized to be found on Google and it stays up to date forever. For more information, visit podpage.com. The future of podcast promotion.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My new book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey and Mood Swings by Queen P. Available on Amazon and all good bookstores.
The Royal Affair
by Queen P.
Dim the lights, sit back, relax, and breathe. You have entered into the Royal Affair.
Queen P. Poetry podcasts. Available now.
The Royal Affair.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series. My guest for this episode is an author, poetess, voiceover artist, and podcaster, American Pauline Atkinson, aka Queen P. Hi Pauline, welcome back to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, our last interview was back in September 2020. So what have you been up to since then?
Oh boy, since then I've been networking, meeting with people from really around the globe, collaborating with a few authors on different projects, podcasting, voice acting, and of course, completing my final installment of my poetry trilogy.
So Pauline, where do you live at the moment?
I live on Long Island, New York. It's about 45 minutes or so from Manhattan. But my early days, we lived in Brooklyn, and then family was uprooted and moved to Long Island. And this is where me and my family reside.
Well, you're an author and also a poetess. What or who inspired you to begin writing poetry?
Okay, yeah, it really wasn't a who. I was inspired divinely, believe it or not. What happened was I just became, middle-aged, and my children were less dependent on me. And that's when I started thinking about my legacy. I started to think about my purpose. And with that, I began meditating and praying for answers, like, where am I supposed to go? What's my direction here? And I was directed towards writing poetry. So I just took heed to the message, and I've been doing it ever since. But the funny thing is that I've never really had this desire to do this. I've written poetry in the past. As a child, I've always written poetry and plays, but I never wanted to share it with anyone. It was just something private and personal. But yet, decades later, the message received to me was to do just that. So this is what I'm doing. It was it was a divine message that I received.
So how long have you been writing poetry seriously?
Seriously, this journey began in April of 2019. Like I said, that's when the message was given to me, and that's when I started doing the poetry seriously.
Well, as I recall, you contributed to the best-selling book Women Win Against All Odds. How did you become involved with that project?
That project came about during the lockdown. I guess that was in 2020. In July, I believe. And, I was just going through Facebook, trying to get myself involved with different projects and things. And I came across this opportunity and I went for it. And it was one of the better things that could have happened to me because it opened doors to so many other collaborative works and other projects. I met a lot of people through that. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
Well, you're also the author of 2 books, and your 3rd book has just been recently published. So your first 2 books, what are they called and what are they about?
Okay, so they're all poetry books. The first book is titled When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey. Okay, and that book is like a guidebook for the soul. My intentions through this book and through my life experiences and experiences in general is to really be an advocate for one's individual spiritual journey. And I was just hoping that this book will motivate, inspire, and uplift you as you go on your journey. And the chapters, they focus on meditation and inspiration, universal feelings, power of love. And my final chapter is mother and daughter, because I dedicated this book to my mom because she passed away when I was just a teenager. So this is one of my biggest accomplishments. So I felt I needed to pay homage to her. So that's the first book, getting out of your comfort zone, loving yourself, all of that, getting your feelings where you can just step out on faith and be you. The second book, Mood Swings, that book, it opens us up to our true feelings while speaking our minds and not being afraid to speak your truth unapologetically and with intention. The chapters in this channel is discovery, things going a little topsy-turvy, you're lost in your emotions, comfort, and the final chapter is This Is Me. It's just all about me, who I am. The first 2 parts of the journey.
Well, your latest book has just been published. So what is your latest book called and what kind of themes and concepts does it explore?
Right. So When the Mood is Right, A Rebirth, it was published on February 28th, and that's the final chapter of this trilogy. And that's all about clarity and confirmation with what I need and what I want out of life, with the understanding that when one door may close, another door will open. And there's 4 chapters in this book, and it opens up with recharging. You're being recharged. You're getting yourself geared up for the final chapter. Then you're awakened. Then we find our peace. And then after the peace comes the rebirth. And with the rebirth, you've found your peace and you've evolved into your new you. You've grown into this person that you're going to be, and you're finally at peace and you're just happy.
Well, that sounds very intriguing. So, Pauline, what other interests do you have?
I'm interested in podcasting. I do have a podcast, which is titled The Royal Affair, and I'm on to my 2nd season with that. So it's very exciting, and it's all about poetry. And I've also started taking a course in voice acting and voiceovers, and I'm working on that as well. I'm really trying to pursue that as my career. And also I'm trying to come up with an idea for a children's book. So look out for that. That might be coming out hopefully by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So those are the 3 things that I have coming up. I really love music. That's one of my biggest hobbies. I worked in entertainment for all of my life. So music is very important. And I love working out and exercising and sports, aside from the writing, of course.
So, Pauline, how can people contact you?
People can find me on my webpage. That's the best place to find me, at www.queenppoetry.com.
Pauline in New York, USA, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Nigel. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Another In Conversation podcast coming soon.